Hello everyone, my name is Faikal Kar, President of the Engineering Student Council, and today I will be talking about club travel, how to use campus resources. Now what I'll be talking about today is how to handle club travel in and out of the pandemic setting, as things have changed a little bit. So, what are the ground rules for traveling during COVID-19? For beginners, all OSU travel at the moment is suspended until further notice. This includes domestic and international travel for both conferences, competitions, anything club related. The continued guidance for these travel suspensions are determined by the CDC and Governor Kate Brown's guidance for restrictions in the state of Oregon. For non-OSU travel, the university does have basic recommendations following CDC guidelines, monitoring yourself for symptoms, maintaining social distancing, washing your hands, avoiding touching your face. And if you do develop symptoms, do your best to quarantine, seek medical advice, and avoid any other further travel. More information can be found at this link. The slides will be posted so you can click on it. Now, if we were out of the pandemic setting, what should you consider when you're planning to travel? Well, you would want to register, first of all, for travel through College of Engineering. You can do this by submitting an official activity report via the SEE portal, being Idealogic. And we generally recommend you complete activity reports for everything you do, not just travel. It's good for a couple of reasons. One, it allows the university to know how much is going on events-wise, and it'll help your funding generally, but it's also good because by submitting these activity reports, OSU can provide their own insurance to you. So you don't have to be self-insured in the case that something goes wrong. You should also be considerate of your payment methods, how you will go through for transportation, whether it be ground or air. You want to make sure you consider whether or not you're booking a hotel, what the rates would be, dividing up the rooms, and what kind of social activities you will be doing during your travel. And these are all quite important, not just for your own consideration to understand your own budget, but it also helps us as when it comes to funding time, we can better determine exactly what you need. Now, paying for reservations. If you have a reservation, you will want to use the departmental index. This can be found in your ideologic recognition in order to associate your budget to a certain place. Now, student organizations don't have debit cards. Maybe one day. This is a continual effort on our part, but you'll want to get your departmental index either through your faculty advisor in order to pay for any reservations you'll be making. So this would be for OSU resources like the motor pool or outside resources like the hotel. If your advisor is uncomfortable or unaware of the departmental index, you can talk to your school accountant, and this can be found through Idealogic or online through the website. Now, in order to reimburse the departmental index after you travel, you want to use the departmental index to reimburse through your student organization account. You can talk to someone at the AABC office. Now, typically this is located in the SEC, but during COVID, this is all handled online via their website, which I'll mention a little bit later. The form also exists right on Idealogic if you are not contacting them. And for any case, the reimbursement will always happen after your travel is done. So you'll get a final statement. Now, the AABC is an office used to support all student organizations financially with resources, including but not limited to depositing, withdrawing, reimbursements for individuals and departmental indexes, and checking out a cash box and more. During COVID, the best way to find out about the resources or contact them is through their website. I've linked it here. Once again, you can check it out in the slides. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about using the motor pool. So why should you use a motor pool vehicle? if you use your own vehicle, you will be held liable for anything that happens, and that's because your insurance takes precedence if you use your own vehicle, versus if you use a motor pool vehicle, OSU's insurance will be the primary leverage. This is obviously assuming, once again, that you reported your activity ahead of time, so the university is kind of aware of what's going on. If your car gets damaged, it's your own deal to fix if you use your own personal vehicle. This is not the case with the motor pool one. Motor pool vehicles use the university insurance as primary, and you are not held liable in the case of an accident. In order to reserve a motor pool vehicle, you complete the online driver authorization form. It can be found at this link, and it authorizes you to drive a motor pool vehicle. You can specify what kind of vehicle you want, and if you decide I want to use a 12-passenger van, there is additional required training, and this is done through the motor pool. And after you submit your form, you will get, sorry about that, you will get information about how to access that. To reserve a vehicle, you go through this link over here, same as the other one. You click on reservations, and it will ask you information about the drivers, the travel description, and payment method. Once again, it's best that you put all this information into your Idealogic event form so that the university has a good idea about what's going on. Now, choosing between vehicles. Here's a list of pros and cons to your two primary options. If you choose a minivan or a smaller vehicle, it's safer, easier to park, more mobile, and no training is required, but it's more expensive for less seats, less bang for your buck. In a 12-passenger van, it's more cost effective and more people fit into one vehicle, but it's not as safe and it's harder to maneuver in general. Plus, you have to go through that extra training, so really consider it an option if you have the time and resources. Okay, so things to consider during your travel. If you are going to switch drivers, this is pretty important. Having multiple viable drivers is good, especially depending on the length of your travel. A lot of conferences are out of the state, all the way, from coast to coast. And we definitely recommend this because driving behind the wheel while drowsy is a big hazard. Make sure you understand your insurance and registration. Check with the motor pool for the location if you're using a motor pool vehicle, and the driver must have a license on them at all times. For refueling, the motor pool provides a fleet credit card for refill. This is in the glove box, and you would use this in order to fill up on gasoline. The PIN for the card is on the keychain for all the vehicle keys. Finally, be mindful when driving motor pool vehicles. Don't take it anywhere you shouldn't be. Be safe with the car, and there is a phone number on the outside if you have any complaints about the vehicle. Finally, there's also another phone number that you can use if you are in an accident or have some kind of assistance needed. This is if if you have any vehicle difficulties at all. Okay, air travel. So you have a couple of options when it comes to flight reservation. You can find an option yourself. This can be like Trivago or Google Flights or whatever. If you have a travel fund in your account, you can subsidize club members by having them pay for the flight and reimbursing them with a certain amount. This is just a recommendation, and it really comes down to how your club manages your resources. It's preferable to pay a third of the cost for 10 people versus entirely paying for 3 people. But this is mostly a recommendation. There's no requirement to do it this way. Now, if you've obtained your departmental index, your second option is to use that departmental index to pay for the flight and get a reimbursement through the AABC. And you would book it through STI Azumano for easier travel planning, and this is one of our OSU sponsors. Your third option is one person will pay for the entire flight and then everybody kind of pays them back. This could be like a Venmo thing. And your fourth option is everybody just buys their own ticket. Getting to the airport, you have a couple of options here as well. Your first is if you only have a few people going using the airport shuttle, such as Hut or Express, those work. If you can't pay online, or you can't pay online with a student group account, so you would go to the shuttle office and pay in cash at the AABC, or you can pay individually and reimburse members using AABC reimbursement through the student org account. Your second option is if you have a lot of people going, you can rent a motor pool vehicle. Overall, the cost will be lower than going through shuttle if you have a lot of people, and you can get a larger van, like a 12-passenger van. But you do not leave the motor pool vehicle in the overnight airport parking. It's generally more expensive just because you're still paying the rental fee over time, and you'll be paying overnight parking. So if you can have someone like maybe come up and then come back down with the car as a non-participating member, it'll be way more cost effective. All right, lodging and activities. So when it comes to reserving hotel rooms, if you are booking multiple rooms, try to negotiate. This isn't a requirement once again, but we definitely recommend it as if you have a large group, you will typically get a cheaper rate. You have a couple options when it comes to payment. Individuals can pay their own room, or one person could pay and everybody could reimburse. Now, make sure everyone is included and feels safe. This is the best thing you can do during travel. Make sure everybody is comfortable with the rooms that they are picked and the roommates they have, because we want people to feel safe during conferences. Also, this should be obvious if DARE hasn't told you enough, but yeah, don't consume drugs or alcohol on these. It doesn't matter if you're actually above the age of 21. You're a liability and an example to yourself and others, and you don't want anyone to feel uncomfortable or unsafe. If you are caught doing this on a club trip, know that the university policy and your COE sponsorship agreement with us does prohibit any of the use of these substances, so it's best not to risk it for the long-term goals of your club. Yeah, this is the part where if we were still in person, I would say, hey, does anyone have any questions? But we have a Slack channel now for that. So if you have any questions, shoot a message to me or any of the other ESC officers, and we will try to do our best to explain how Club and Travel works best. Thank you all for attending this year.